Hey everybody, Dr. Perry Bard here, and you are in for the most special treat today. We have the honor, the privilege, and really an incredible opportunity to speak with the best of the best in the non-surgical spinal decompression world. As many of you know, this year has been the most record-breaking year for Disc Centers of America doctors. It's been a record-breaking year for our family of non-surgical spinal decompression physicians and teams. And this year is really special because of the simple fact that coming up is a celebration. And basically what the celebration is the 10-year anniversary of the original, only university-based non-surgical spinal decompression national certification program in the world. And it is being held on the weekend of November 5th and November 6th this year. So we're going to talk today with some of the doctors that if you were there last year and you know what we're talking about, rave reviews unlike anything that anybody has ever seen before, not just in terms of a disc conference, not just in terms of a CEU conference, but really in terms of attracting the best chiropractors on the planet who are dedicated to really doing two things: under-promising and over-delivering, and saving patients from some really bad stuff in the opioid world, in the epidural injection world, in the surgical world. These doctors that we're featuring here today are not just stars, as you know, they are superstars, and we get the privilege and the honor of honoring them all over again this year on the highest level. It is our incredible honor to have with us here today three amazing doctors. We want to welcome them. Number one, from Los Angeles, California, the incredible Dr. Brigitte Rosenberg. From Ashtabula, Ohio, and Cleveland, Ohio, the incredible Dr. Roger Wong. And none other than the most certified doctor on the planet, meaning he's attended the most certifications out of anybody on the planet, the one and only Dr. Carrie Gerges from Westerville, Ohio. I think we're on a 4-split screen here. So welcome everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Hello.
Dr. Bard.
This is a treat and this is really special. And we want to make this special because I know if I'm a doctor watching this, there's basically 3 different types of doctors that watch this right here, right now. And I'll tell you exactly what they are. They are, number one, doctors that do not own a spinal decompression table, that are curious about trying to do something bigger, better, and more for their patients, that are not just chiropractic patients, but these are disc-specific patients. There are doctors out there that are just curious and want to learn more. I love those doctors because all 3 doctors that you're going to hear from today started exactly like you. In other words, they didn't have one table to begin with. So we're not starting in the present. We're going to roll the clock back. We're going to take it to the present, and then we're going to talk about the future. The second type of doctor is obvious. That's a doctor that has probably one table. And in the words of the great Dr. Eric Kaplan, as you know, what would Dr. Kaplan say? He would say that if you have one spinal decompression table, well, guess what? You're playing at it. And obviously you haven't figured out a way to be able to fill that table up so much from the morning to night that you needed a second table. Last but not least is the third group. And I love this group. You know all about this group. This is the group that is hitting it on all cylinders. These are the doctors with 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12 spinal decompression tables. All the tables are busy. They're saving patients from some really bad stuff. But more importantly, they are delivering outcomes that are bigger and better and more than any typical chiropractor. These are not mortal chiropractors you're going to hear from today. So let's start it with Can I call her? I was going to call you the princess of non-surgical spinal decompression. But the reality is this, Dr. Brigitte Rosenberg in Los Angeles, California.
God.
She's not the princess. She's the queen.
Okay.
She's the queen. And so I'd like to ask you, Dr. Rosenberg, first, in essence, when you first started, I know for a fact you did not have a spinal decompression table. What was your mindset at that point right now, understanding that you knew you wanted to treat this patient, you just at that point didn't have maybe the technology or the training at that point? What was your motivation at that point?
When I started, I did not own any decompression table. I had flexion distraction, I had regular traction tables, but I never had anything that is even closer to the AccuSpina system. I wanted to treat a disc patient, I wanted to treat a neuropathy patient, but I wasn't sure what it all entails. I love what I do. I love my profession, my career, and I thought I had a great personal injury practice. I treated disc patient for many years, but there is a treatment for the disc patient and there is a treatment for the disc patient. You have to really understand the real core problem that these patients have. And you also need to really understand what you need to do to really fix their problem and not just do regular chiropractic work. It's going to may alleviate their symptoms a little bit, but you can get results, but not really. And you just really have to understand this core issue that you're dealing with to really understand how much need there is out there for our help and how much we, with the knowledge and education that we have, can help those patients. But in order for us to even be in a position that we can do something like that, we have to incorporate the proper technology and the proper modalities and knowledge and education and research and all of it together. You can't miss anything out of this formula. You have to make sure you have the understanding of everything in order to really reach the results, achieve the results, and provide that care that these patients need. And I think that for me, it was really understanding all of it, getting into that mindset, understanding that, oh my God, we as chiropractors, that this is our core education is in the spine and disc musculoskeletal system. We know what we need to do for these patients, and not enough of us do it. And that's how a lot of these patients are lost to surgeries and injections and opioids and all this other stuff, because not enough of us understand what it takes and understand how we can apply this great knowledge that we already have to treating those patients. So for me, it was a mindset. It was being part of a group that just focuses on patient care on a higher level and not focuses on the snap, crackle, pop that is out there in our profession. And being in this environment, meeting those doctors, joining the Centers of America, understanding how we can apply all this knowledge, and with an investment, obviously, of using the right technology, we can achieve some great things for patients, for staff, and for ourselves as physicians, because medicine is evolving and the pendulum is shifted a lot since I started my career. I can definitely notice change, and I know that Dr. Gerges, who's been doing this a little longer than me, and Dr. Raj as well, that's coming from the healthcare space. I know your family is in the medical business. Healthcare is shifting a lot, and the pendulum is changed, and people out there, even with not a lot of medical education, are seeking other forms of treatment for some conditions that only we can help if we apply the knowledge and the desire to really learn it, invest in it, and just, we can do great things for patients, but we can also do great things for us as doctors and not depend on all this $40 adjustment or $25 adjustment that I don't want to be in that game. So that kind of like a big answer for maybe a short question.
No, it's a great answer because to me, headspace is everything. And this has always been and forever will be an above down, inside out business. And what I love about these three doctors, as well as the rest of our Disc Centers of America family, is they figured out in their genius that they chose a career and they chose a specialty, if you will, where there is potentially a never-ending supply of need. Now, here's the difference between these doctors and everybody else, and that is now that they knew the need, then it was a matter of fulfilling the supply. And the way they fulfilled the supply was they started leveraging up, adding technology. Dr. Rosenberg, can I ask you, how many spinal decompression tables at this moment do you own?
8.
8. Now, this is amazing because I'll never forget our first phone call, and I'll never forget, and I really will never forget that call. And what I loved about you was you knew there was something special inside you that just needed to maybe, if you will, come out. And you needed the proper, I guess, playbook, if you will, because to us, you're no different, Dr. Gerges, Dr. Wang, you're no different than the highest level performing athletes that just simply needed the playbook to put the ball in the end zone again and 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 again. And that's the difference between you and everybody else. And so from here, I'd like to, same question, Dr. Gerges.
Yes.
Look at Dr. Gerges's tie. Oh, I love your tie. I know you wanted to wear the black shirt for today. Dr. Gerges is very interesting. Yes. He has attended every national spinal decompression certification program ever given, with the exception of the first one, when there was only 30 people in the room. We will break a record this year again. We will be sold out again this year for the National Spinal. It'll be 3 years in a row and more. It'll be incredible. One of the highlights is the simple fact that when Dr. Gerges takes the mic, a lot of people really feel connected to him because his story was unlike anybody else's in terms of where he was in his career, where he was going in his career, and where he decided to go in his career. He took the bull by the horns and he did something incredible, made his own personal history. Dr. Gerges, what would you share with doctors right now, for example, that maybe, much like you, maybe never even had a spinal decompression table to start with? What would you tell them?
Well, I tell them this has been the greatest experience in my life. And it changed me personally as a person. It made me a better doctor than I ever was before, because knowledge is power. And I did not have the knowledge. I thought I did. But after, obviously, when I was introduced to Dr. Kaplan, Dr. Bard's program, I realized, wow, there's a vast knowledge that's out there. And I was very grateful to be able to participate in that and get to learn how to be the best, to give the best service to our patients. Because for years, after graduating from school, I've treated patients and I did everything I could, that I thought I was doing a good job and sincerely trying to help people. But you treat them for a while, and after a while, all of a sudden they need to go have surgery. And I didn't know where to go from there. And we heard that buzzword about decompression, which everybody else is trying to emulate or do, but unsuccessfully, because I remember I did not have a decompression table, but I had a traction table. And the salesman initially told me how to do it, how to pull, how much to pull, how much force. And he told me that this traction table that does decompression, which is incorrect. And I didn't realize, I said, a salesman is going to show me how much force to put on a patient whether I'm going to help him or hurt him. And it kind of didn't make sense. So we began searching to look for where do we get information, because that's not taught in the schools. And so I began looking, and we ran into you. And so Sally, actually my wife, began talking to you. And you had a seminar down in Cincinnati, and a group meet in a ballroom somewhere in one of the boardrooms that we had. This was just like about 15 people or something like that. We sat down. And when I start hearing you and Dr. Kaplan speak, I said, man, those guys must have it. They got something that I really would like to learn more about. And from that point on, I never missed a meeting, like you said, because I would want to know everything there is to be done. And I came from a point where I was ready to even quit the chiropractic profession because it was just, I wasn't reaching the goals that I thought I was going to have from the beginning. But all of a sudden, when I started coming to your seminars, begin to learn, and the whole concept changed. I became more, I'm treating MDs and DOs, and here in my office, I'm treating patients that have prior surgeries that suffered after. I have a patient that had 9 surgeries, and she was scheduled for number 10. She had fusion, and we were able to help her. And we had patients that had all kinds of conditions from neuropathy that was had lasting for years, that they couldn't even feel their feet and their shoes. And now we're changing lives. It changed me. When you see those miracles happening every day, you have to thank God for what you guys are doing, Dr. Kaplan, Dr. Bard, your effort to make it better, make us better, and give us the information, the tools that we needed to have to become successful and do the right thing for our patients.
You know, it's so funny. Dr. Kaplan and I, we always talk about that we attract the best chiropractors on the planet. I don't know where everybody else is going, but the ones that are playing the game right, doing it smart, doing it really at their potential. Because remember, chiropractic has always been about what? Human potential. So doesn't it make sense on the most basic level that it is incumbent upon us to fulfill our own human potential? I love what Dr. Gerges says. I love what you said, Harry, in the sense that you said knowledge is power. You are so right. In addition to that, I don't know if you've ever heard this before. I think you have, but not only is knowledge power, but proximity is power. And that is why on November 5th and 6th, you have the opportunity to be in a room with these 3 doctors, the biggest of the big, the best of the best, and many, many more that are all dedicated to doing one thing, and that is they are in the business of 3 letters, 1 word, WOW. These doctors are in the business of wow. And when you can wow your patients, that's a pretty powerful thing. All of them, you will find a common connection between these 3 doctors and more. And that is, even though they practice in different parts of the country. Oh, and by the way, Dr. Gerges, can I ask you this question? I asked Dr. Rosenberg. I got to ask you, how many spinal decompression tables do you have?
11.
Whoa. Years ago, we joked, we said, every time you come to a certification, you end up with a table. I think there's a connection there because this might be your 11th or 12th or whatever. This is special. This is the 10X anniversary of the National Spinal Decompression Certification Program on November 5th and November 6th. 5-star location, 5-star presentation, 5-star packaging, and really a 5-star experience. One of the coolest things about it, to me personally, is being in the room with these doctors, sharing really knowledge, sharing that special sauce, because these doctors are in the business of sharing. One of the things that we spoke about here is that even though they practice in different parts of the United States, they all share in common really one thing, and that is this. All of them are driven, all of them are persistent, all of them are dedicated, all of them are committed, and all of them are passionate about really doing something amazing for their patients, to save their patients often from dangerous opioids, Vicodin, Percocet, Tramadol, and more, risky epidural injections, piercing CSF flow. As you know, you pierce that dura mater, you get a CSF leak, you're in the emergency room, and you are, for lack of a better word, screwed. Last but not least, microdiscectomies. But guess what? If the microdiscectomy doesn't work, you know what happens next? That's called a laminectomy. And if that doesn't work, that's called a foraminotomy. And if that doesn't work, that's called metal in your back. And you know what happens at that point. I don't know if I've met anyone more persistent and dedicated than this next guest, if you will. I'll never forget the day I met you. I was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I was there for a Primanti Brothers sandwich. You know, that's the sandwich where they put the meat and the coleslaw and the French fries, and they put it all on one. And I said, wow, that's pretty good. I knew Dr. Gerges and Sally were going to be there. So I had to be there. I think I want to say it was on William Penn Road. It was at a historic hotel. Who showed up? OMG. Oh my gosh. Dr. Roger Wong with one of the most incredible stories that I ever heard. Dr. Wong, would you share a little bit about kind of how you started in this business?
Obviously, I did not have any decompression tables. I thought I was doing good in practice, but really in realization, I was struggling. So I saw the offer in Pittsburgh and, I took a chance to go check it out. And then I met, obviously, you, Dr. B, Carrie, I met Sally. I mean, great people. I recognized my practice was more of kind of a rack and crack. I saw a lot of Medicaid, Medicare. It was very insurance based, so I realized, hey, when people came to my office, I had a lot of disc related patients, but I would refer them to the surgeon if I had them. I knew no other way. I grew up in a medical background. I practiced with my dad for the first 10 years, and he's an OBGYN. So when I did come and meet Dr. Kaplan and Dr. Bard, my father was very, very skeptical about the whole situation. The best part about everything with Disc Centers America is very medically oriented, medically researched, which my father loved. So he was all behind me. After talking to Dr. Kaplan, seeing the medical research, Dr. Harvard neurosurgeon, Dennis McClure, neurosurgeon. So it was very medically backed, which I felt was very huge. So I bought one spinal decompression table. Obviously, the huge part about Disc Centers America, they give you the proper blueprint. I did not know what to do. I mean, learning from Dr. Parr, Dr. Kaplan, and the great group of doctors, they developed the blueprint. So it's very, very easy for even someone like me who really didn't know what to do is to learn from the best and eventually become the best. So the best part also I loved was, when people came in with herniations or bulges and were facing back surgery, not only did we get them better, the big thing in my practice, we'd retake an MRI to show, hey, this is just not a Band-Aid. Hey, we're going toward a solution. So preventing all these back surgeries, changing lives was a huge factor. My dad's become a big believer. Where I live, I opened a second practice. I see a lot of professional athletes. I've been kind of like the mixed martial arts, UFC guy in my area. So, these professional fighters drive all over an hour to come to my office. And I tell people, they're not coming for chiropractic, they're coming for herniations. So these guys are, even though they're doing a very rough sport and actually facing neck surgery, hey, we're actually helping prevent that, getting them feel better, actually even performing, to the ultimate level, and then actually retaking an MRI and show, hey, these guys are still fighting, their herniations are shrinking, so it gives you a great way to practice where you feel, I guess, more solution-based versus, just Band-Aid based with the adjustments. So, I love what I do. I'm glad I joined Disc Centers America. It's been a great, unbelievable experience. And I really feel like, too, part of it also, we have Dr. Barr, Dr. Kaplan, Carrie, Bridget, a huge group of doctors. And I feel like attracts like, so, the business keeps building. And obviously, I love helping people out. When people ask me questions, I'm more than welcome to share. But it's been an unbelievable experience, not just personally, but in helping patients.
I love it. There's a pooling of content. There's a pooling of information. And I love what you said, like favors like. And as a result, I think you know that being successful in the spinal decompression world, so much of that has to do with really not just having knowledge, but having the right knowledge. And really communication. Communication is such a vital part of how do we overcome an objection. All of the doctors that you see featured here today, one of the things that they all share in common, and one of the reasons that all three doctors are honored on the highest level at the National Spinal Decompression Certification Program, is because all of them have some of the most amazing conversion rates in the country. Now, when we talk about conversion rates, what are we talking about? We're talking about the presentation of a typical chiropractic patient that may morph into or may present as a disc case. All of them understand the medical necessity of MRI. All of them understand the ability to communicate how a disc herniation, disc prolapse, disc protrusion, and the like can affect the quality of the patient's health now and in the future. All of them are incredible at taking a no and turning it into a yes. And that is an art, that is a science, and that is a philosophy. Whoa, that sounds like chiropractic. OMG. That sounds like chiropractic, but yes, all of them recognize the fourth cog in the wheel. What's the fourth cog in the wheel? That chiropractic is a business and spinal decompression is a business. And if you're able to position yourself a little bit better with the right tools, the right ammunition, the right content, the right, can I say, enthusiasm? Because if you love what you do and do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. There are 2 trainings left in this year, 2022. I know if I'm sitting there right now, I'm saying, wow, I'm loving this. I like this. I love it. I want more of it. Where can I learn more? There are only 2 trainings left. Number 1, if you want to learn about the business of success of non-surgical spinal decompression, in other words, where we can openly talk about money, we can openly talk about finances, we can openly talk about conversions, we can openly talk about how to fill up the tables and how to talk about the business of success in the non-surgical spinal decompression world, then you want to try to secure a seat on October 8th. For the last training of the year, it is known as the Chiro event. There should be a website somewhere here or there where you could click on, or we'll give you the website. It's www.thechiroevent.com. All 3 doctors you see here today attended the Chiro event. You can ask them personally, did it change your life? You know the answer to that. The last one is, can I say, the major leagues of spinal decompression, the National Spinal Decompression Certification on November 5th and 6th. It will be completely sold out. The website is www.decompressioncertified.org. And if I'm you, I'm bringing myself, I'm bringing my team. Yes, your team can get certified as well. Now, Dr. Rosenberg, by the way, how many seats do you have in November at the National Spinal Decompression Certification?
I think probably like 10 or 12.
Now, we believe, and it's just our opinion, but we believe that the queen of non-surgical spinal decompression, the best of the best, this doctor who is at the top of our profession for a number of reasons, we feel she should take a private plane to the national certification. I don't know. I would check, a Learjet. Yes, we know the numbers. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who don't know, now you're about to know. We're having a private lunch. Obviously, everybody knows, or I hope most of you know, that the National Spinal Decompression Certification is open to the entire chiropractic profession. Yet, at the same time, the predominance of seats are already scooped up by Disc Centers of America doctors, bringing their teams, bringing their associates, bringing their families and more, which is really an incredible thing. We're doing a private lunch for Disc Centers of America Doctors, upstairs in the private dining room, we have a very special guest speaker that day. It is a guest speaker who is doing it right. She happens to be on this Zoom meeting, and you'll get a chance to meet her personally and privately, and she'll share the love there as we all get a chance to dine together. If you're a Descendants of America doctor, if you're not, there are other options as well for food. Trust me, we'll feed you well. 2 breakfasts, 1 gourmet lunch. But we're gonna wow you, and the reason we're gonna wow you is because the clock is ticking. Whether you recognize it or not, the clock is ticking. So we only have a little bit of time left here today, but what I wanted to ask these doctors now is that if I was one of those other doctors that we were talking about, meaning I've got 3 tables, I've got 5 tables, I've got 7 tables, and you will meet countless doctors at the National Spinal Decompression Certification Program that have doubled the amount of tables they had since last year, tripled the amount of tables they had since last year, quadrupled the amount of tables, all from being trained the right way, creating supply and demand. In other words, creating such a demand for their spinal disc care. And oh, by the way, these are doctors that are not charging, they're not charging $1,000, $2,000 per case. The national average for many of these doctors is a minimum of $5,000 cash. So when you start to hear about doctors that are closing 2 cases per day, 3 cases per day, 4 cases per day, 5 cases per day, and more. Now, I'm not great at math, but I'm going to tell you at a minimum of 5K, last time I checked, that's a $25,000 day at your front desk. How many chiropractors on the planet could speak to that? Well, if you've got the right training, you've got the right tools, you've got the right brand, you've got the right support system, and you surround yourself with these great doctors. So I wanted to ask you doctors, as we get to the end here a little bit, if there's one thing that you can share that has helped you kind of reach the level that you now have reached, because let's be very frank, you doctors are all in stratified air. You are the leaders of our profession. You're the leaders of disc specialty doctors. You're the leaders in Descendants of America and more. We're so honored and thankful. We love, I mean, you're all in. In other words, if you look at your DNA, all of you and our most successful Descendants of America doctors are always all in. What could you share? What could you share with the doctors that might have reached a little bit of a plateau or a little bit of a slump, maybe a little bit of your special sauce, a little golden nugget? And I want to start with you, Dr. Gergis. What would you share with them that helped you go from good to great to the best?
I would say go for it, because really there's no other option, because success comes by knowledge and having the right knowledge to understand how to handle it. So it's really, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your patients, you owe it to your family to really take advantage of that. You have to plunge in, you have to move in, and you have to go all in. And once you do that, it'll change your life, change your patients. Your practice is completely different than ever before. And you become the top leaders. And able people call you for questions to be answered about what to do. You can teach it. It is so amazing how the knowledge is available. It's right there on the silver platter and given to us without restrictions. And we love it. And we are part of a team that we can belong. We can call each other, request any information from each other. It's amazing, a group that we can belong to, and I'm very proud to be part of that group. And I'm humbled, as a matter of fact, because it changed my life, it changed my family, it changed my practice. We're nowhere that we were before. It's amazing that the leaps of bounds that we have taken care of, taken over the years. And I'll, as long as God gives me life, I will never miss any of those meetings again, and I'll always be there.
I love what you said. I love what you said with regard to the simple fact that the knowledge is there. You know, there's an old saying that You could either watch the parade go by, you could get in the parade, or guess what? You could lead the parade. And there's an abundance of chiropractors that are watching the parade go by saying, what the, can I say it? What the heck? What's going on? Well, before you know it, a week becomes a month becomes a year becomes a decade. And before you know it, at some point, it'll be the last time you ever do this. Wouldn't it be great to be like a Dr. Gerges, Dr. Wong, and a Dr. Rosenberg? And one of the things, Dr. Gerges, that I love that you shared with me, not that long ago, was when you said to me, when Sally actually said this to me, she said, one of the reasons that I love about this, she says, do you know that at this point right now in our life, in our career, anytime we want to fly first class, we fly first class. Heck yeah, you fly first class. Heck yeah. You're talking about the best family man and his wife in terms of their large family who always put their family and their children first. So flying first class was never at the top of the list, but isn't it nice that you could do it anytime you want to do it, and more well-deserved, and so much more. Heck yeah. Dr. Wong, your story is so magnetic. And I got to tell you this, brother, you've heard me say it before. The more successful you became, the more humble and the more modest you became. So it's kind of like goosebumps. I will tell you, of our entire Descendants of America family, I don't know a doctor that has shared with us more about how happy you are and how thankful you are. And I love your texts and I love your emails, because you know how they come, brother. It's always, I can't thank Dr. Kaplan enough. I can't thank you enough. You changed my life. You changed my career. Oh, I'm BTW. I had a fill in the blank day. Can I say 5 digits plus? Right, brother? Yeah. More, like minimum, like more, like double that and more, like triple that and more. You could figure it out. Historic, showing me your waiting list practice of tables that are full. And I love your market. I have family in Cleveland, in Twinsburg and Shaker Heights and Cleveland Heights. And I love the time when we went out to the Ritz-Carlton together and we had dinner together down in Cleveland, and we had Colin there. It was so much fun. Do you remember? And my family was there. This is a family. And if you'll notice, at the start of every National Spinal Decompression Certification Program, the first words that always come out of my mouth every year is the same thing. And I ask them in the room, does it feel like a family reunion? And everybody goes like this. It feels like a family reunion. Dr. Wong, what would you share for the doctors that might be at a certain sticking point, if you will, of something that they may be able to look at or do different, or something that helped you maybe get over the slump?
I definitely feel through you guys, it was patient care. Not only patient care, it was patient attraction and then patient retention. So a huge thing that I believed in initially was obviously the brand, and not only the brand, but the website. So initially attracting people, attracting patients, the right type of patients. Hey, they look up the website, they look obviously what you do. I had Bernie Kosar, who was one of the best quarterbacks for the Cleveland Browns. He came into my office because he saw the website. Some Browns told him to come in. And he said, hey, not only did I hear you're the best, I looked you up and you were the best. So attracting patients like that. Obviously, the retention part, which I love, is we get results. If you're not getting results, then you're not going to get patient retention. You're not going to build your brand. You're not going to build, preventing back surgeries, saving lives. And obviously, the thing that I love is, hey, not only do you get people feeling better, and we actually show them. So I'm big into before and after MRIs, which is a huge thing where, hey, you're retaining people. They're getting their lives back. They can't work out, now they can work out. So I feel like the whole thing with not only attracting patients with the brand, the website, and you guys teach us everything, is once you get them in, you retain them and they actually refer their family and their friends.
You know, I always called you kind of an instinctive, intuitive marketer. You became very good on the social media platforms of doing one thing, which is really an art, and that is telling the story. So as chiropractors, as you know so well, we were really ingrained in our chiropractic careers to, as we know so well, to tell the story. Well, what you did in your genius was you morphed that into the Dissenters of America model of telling the patient story, that like favors like. In other words, I always love that at the end, when you cap it at the end, you use capital letters. So you'll tell the story of the patient presenting, you'll tell the history, you'll tell what the patient was looking at options-wise, you'll tell about your prescription for care, not recommendation. Now, do you notice the language that Dr. Wang uses when he uses the word retainer? I hope you caught that, because we modeled this after the dental world. Why did we do that? Because the dentists figured this out. The dentists were the best at packaging care, presenting care, making it objective, but not necessarily making it optional, making it more medically necessary. Ask anybody who's ever had braces, and you'll know that they don't go on a maintenance program. They go on what? They go on a retainer program. So notice that that is not coincidental when Dr. Wang talks about the retainer. Now, we happen to have somebody here on the Zoom meeting that may have the highest batting average in the history of retainer programs. You could figure it out. I don't know where it is, but it's somewhere there. But all of you are incredible at that, because you give the patient a bridge till tomorrow. You have to be able to under-promise, over-deliver. But once the care is complete, once the prescription of care has been fulfilled, what happens thereafter? Well, if you utilize the right forms, if you utilize the right communication, if you utilize the drip system and you bridge it the right way, then all the heavy lifting is done up front, and there is no sale. There is no sale. All of these doctors that you're here today and see today share in common a number of things, but one of the things at the very top of the list is they don't have to sell. They are not salespeople. They're doctors that are in the business of education, and they're in the business of giving choices, giving options, A or B. And if you ask the right questions, you'll get the right answers. And you know, one of the greatest at that, obviously, is you, Dr. Rosenberg, because of how you layered up your packaging. And it is not a coincidence. If you look behind Dr. Rosenberg's wall, you're going to see some posters. That's not a coincidence. That is by design. And when we talk about design, we're talking about a doctor that her and her husband, who happens to be one of the most successful dentists, by the way, who will be there at the National Spinal Decompression. You'll get a chance to meet him. You'll get a chance to meet her children, which are amazing. If they're not on Worth Avenue buying clothes and shoes and stuff and bling and all this stuff, you know, if we can get them to hang out with us a little bit. Dr. Rosenberg in her, and I don't use this term lightly, in her genius, with her husband, created the best pound for pound topical analgesic in the world for not just chiropractors, for everybody. It is known as mineralgia. And mineralgia is something that, you want to talk about genius? Took the sea salt science. In other words, using sea salts. Now, what you might say, well, Jay, wait a minute. It's kind of makes sense, but tell me a little bit more. Well, I'll tell you a little bit more. It's real simple. Go to a dentist and have any work done on your mouth. And if you're going to be sore the next day, and the dentist knows that, what's the first thing they tell you to do? Gargle with what? Salt water. So what they did was they created a topical analgesic that allows the utilization of natural minerals and salts, because what do salts do? They draw circulation to the surface. So in her packaging of non-surgical spinal decompression, every patient walks out with a tube of mineralgia, which she created, her and her husband created, which is I love it because not only is it the best packaging, it's the best science. It smells phenomenal. You go up in my bathroom right now. You look at my wife's sink right by the sink with all her fancy stuff up there. She's got some fancy stuff. I can't tell you what it is, but it's all fancy kind of cool stuff. There's a big tube of mineralgia right there. Dr. Rosenberg, would you share with our family and more a little bit about what was the one thing that you did a little bit different? And I kind of have a feeling it might have to do with the packaging that they go home with and how you wowed them. Can you talk a little bit about that and maybe possibly the ability for some doctors who are watching that to get their hands on the best pound for pound topical analgesic, which goes in the package?
Sure. Thank you. So when I started the whole journey of treating patients with spinal decompression, a lot of them, they leave and they're a little bit sore and a little bit in pain. And I figured, you really want to wow them. You want to under promise and over deliver. You want to really, give them the value of what they're going to pay for, because, this is not a cheap treatment. But at the same token, I always tell my patient, you're being treated with technology that's worth, few $100,000, if not close to $500,000. These machines, these technologies are very expensive. So naturally, you will get the results. Well, when you go home after you're being treated, when you go to a regular physician, they give you a prescription of medication. Well, we don't give prescriptions, and we also want to avoid going that route. We want to avoid them taking the prescription that someone gave them and it's in their medicine cabinet. So I created a home care package that I give every patient that signs up for my care. And I say, okay, so you're going to get treated here 2, 3, 4 times a week. But when you go home, I'm going to give you a home care package. And that home care package will include different items that they're going to help you go through the process of the treatment, after the treatment, during the treatment, on the weekends, between the treatment. And it's yours to keep forever. One of it is the Mineralgia pain relieving cream, which is, naturally the cream that I created. I give them, a tube for every month. So if it's a 3-month treatment, depending on how many visits they are, they get a tube for every month for that. And I tell them, this is a cream, instead of popping a pill, you can rub it on yourself 4 or 5 times a day, because it's a safe product. It's clean. There's no chemicals. There's no salicylates. It's very safe to use, and it's going to give you the relief that you need as many times as you need it throughout the day. So I give them the cream, and I give them an ice pack, and I give them the disc-aligned belt or another belt for support. And I give them a TENS unit, and I just give them a whole bunch of stuff. So they leave, they feel like, oh my God, someone else may give me a prescription and I have to pop these pills and it's going to make me sleepy or dizzy or God knows what else, or addicted. But at least here I get tools and I get things that I can use now and forever. And they keep on coming back to, even when they're done with care, as Dr. Raj said, the retention, maybe I need to use that word instead of maintenance. But a lot of the times I said, I'm going to see you for the whole year. We're going to finish this number of session, but this is so chronic. I'm not going to leave you alone. I'm going to take care of you, because I can tell you that a lot of them, my experience, they have separation anxiety. They almost don't want to even leave. When they're done and the treatment comes to an end, it's like, well, what's going to happen now? And what happened if I don't feel good? Or so they keep on coming, if it's once a month and once every 2 months, so we can take care of them. But I give them those tools to take home, and it's powerful because they feel like I'm with them throughout the process, and I'm not. They're not a number. They're actually a patient, and we really care for them. And I sit with so many people and go through their MRI and go through the explanation and go through the whole thing, which I'll be happy to share a lot of the things that I kind of figured out in the process. They are telling me so many times, nobody ever took the time to explain anything to me. I had no idea. I just had a patient today who was scheduled for surgery, and he's going to start decompression. And he doesn't even know what surgery is scheduled for. He doesn't even know if it's discectomy, laminectomy, fusion. He just doesn't know. He just said, you need surgery, and that's what he's going to do. So a lot of the people out there are so uneducated. They don't know. Nobody explains to them. So I think the power that we have in educating them, using all the tools, the neuropathylator, the folder with all the research, creating that home care package that they can take home with them. This A to Z approach does not exist in the medical world in many places. It doesn't. Maybe it exists in aesthetics when you go and get beautified, but this is not aesthetics. This is, I tell the patients, and I think this is the strongest thing that I tell them. These disc conditions are, thank God, not life-threatening. Not like a heart condition or, God forbid, a cancer, but they are disabling. You're going to be disabled. So one patient said to me, well, that is a life-threatening if I'm disabled. I don't want to live like that. And this is the concept. It is disabling, and they cannot function if they do not take care of it. And if we can help them with home care, with in-office care, with all the technology, it's just, it's an unbelievable feeling to be in this position, to give patients a hope to just a better life, because nobody's really doing it out there. So
no, it's so incredible, because all of you are masters in the quality of life business. That's what you are. You're in the quality of life business, because I think, and I got to tell you, when all of you speak, I'm on the edge of my chair right here. I'm literally sitting on the edge of my chair, because I know that you have taken the tools. And that's one of the things Dr. Kaplan and myself have become so proud about, is the simple fact that we know we've got the best ammunition in the world. We're attracting the best doctors in the world, who also happen to be very entrepreneurial. I love that. So in other words, they look at chiropractic as the greatest service, healthcare service in the world. They look at it also as a business. And at the top of that pyramid is the highest level of chiropractic case that you can attract, which is a disc case. Highest, not just in terms of monetization, but highest in terms of need, desire, medical necessity, urgency, and to be able to deliver a better outcome. We hang on every single word. We hang on every intonation. We hang on every inflection. We hang on the simple fact that we know that if we could say something a little bit better than any other mortal chiropractor out there, then we're going to continue to do what we do better than anyone on the planet, which is we're going to continue to win. And we treat this like a sport. And it is, and that's the magic of it, is because all of you know what it feels like to win. Our Descendants of America doctors know what it feels like to win. Oh, and by the way, we have the great opportunity this year to honor a number of new doctors. When I say new, is that blingy enough for you? Is it blinding you? All the diamonds and oh my gosh, wow. So we get a chance to honor a whole group of new doctors this year at the National Spinal Decompression Certification. Yes, one phrase, one research study, and that's the magic of Dr. Kaplan. He's probably studying right now as we speak, learning a new research study that he could show you at the National Spinal Decompression Certification. I kid you not, my right hand, I'm not kidding. It actually probably looks like my left hand because it's Zoom, it's opposite, right? But I'm going to tell you, how many National Spinal Decompression certifications we've done. And the night before, I said, let's go out to dinner. Let's go down and get up late by tea, because I'm a dessert guy. You know what I mean? I like to have like maybe a little chocolate cake late at night, a little cup of tea, something with coconut, maybe, you know what I'm talking about, a flambe thing, something fancy sent to my room or whatever. I'll meet you downstairs at the bar and you can have drinks, but I'll eat dessert. I can't tell you how many times I've asked him. He says, sorry, he goes, I'm studying. And I kid you not, he prepares for this like nobody on the planet. He brings new research studies every year, new medical facts, new findings, because the more we can insulate you, protect you, empower you, and enrich you with content that you can present to your patient, that's the difference between taking a no, turning it into a yes, saving a patient's life. Yes, you save a patient from a back surgery, you are potentially saving their life and more. 2 trainings this year left, the final 2, October 8th. If you want to learn the business and the monetization of how to market spinal decompression better and how to be able to attract patients that nobody else can attract, where we could talk about money and we could talk about the positioning of the celebrity doctor, the specialist, the disc specialist, to be able to put you on a plateau and a platform to finish the year like a superstar, the last quarter of the year, And then to turbocharge and rocket blast 2023, last but not least, grab your seat at the National Spinal Decompression. Right now, as we speak, I don't know how many seats are left for the October 8th training, www.thecheiroevent.com. Try to grab a seat. It'll be awesome. Oh, by the way, when we did it, this one will be actually held at our corporate training center. So it's almost like a behind the scenes look as to how we kind of put it all together, which is so amazing. And it's done in a boardroom style. Try to grab a seat at that. And then last but not least, as you know, the family reunion of all family reunions. You get a chance to be around greatness, the best of the best in the non-surgical spinal decompression worlds. I promise you with all my heart, these are the doctors that you would send your family to because they get it. And when I say they get it, what I mean is they are all in on the brand of Disc Centers of America. They're all in on the education of the patient. They're all in on the packaging of spinal decompression properly, under promising, over delivering. And the best part about it is on November 5th and 6th, you'll get a chance to hang out with them. And yes, even buy them drinks. That's right. If I'm you, I'm buying drinks for these three doctors. Oh, by the way, it's cocktail hour and drinks are on the house. Oh, I forgot. That's right. With our jazz musician playing, our cigar roller will be back. It is a party. It is a show. It is unlike anything that you've ever attended before. I don't have to hype it. I don't have to exaggerate it. It's really, I'm kind of understating it. The fact is this is your moment in time, in the great words of Dr. Gerges, right? You know, you got it. Proximity is power, right? Knowledge is power. Proximity is power. I just know through osmosis, good things happen when you get around these doctors. That's been my secret for 35 years, hanging out with Dr. Eric Kaplan. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, in my life for 35 years, I was his associate doctor 35 years ago. Pretty crazy, right? And guess what? Any relationship that you create with anybody that gets better over time, those are the relationships you want to hang on to with all your heart. And as we always say in our world, in the disc business, everything has always been one-to-one, eye-to-eye, face-to-face, and lastly, heart-to-heart. We are in the heart-driven business as chiropractors. This is not just a calling. These are the chosen ones. You're looking here at the screen at the chosen chiropractors who are the best at what they do. If it's me, I can't wait to hang out with these doctors and so many more. Try to grab a seat. I promise you it will be completely sold out. Even possibly by the time you're watching this, they may have already started a wait list for it. It's been sold out 2 years in a row. And once it's closed, it's closed. The name goes on a list at the security gate. If your name's not on the list at the gate, that gate doesn't open. So this is the real deal. On behalf of Dr. Eric Kaplan, myself, Dr. Brigitte Rosenberg, Dr. Roger Wong, Dr. Carrie Gerges, and some of the best Disc Centers of America doctors on the planet. The countdown is on. We cannot wait to see you for an event and a training that will change your life because it will change your patient's life forever. That's a big deal, but guess what? You're a big deal, doctor, and you deserve it. We hope to see you there November 5th at 6, www.decompressioncertified.org. Thank you to my amazing family here of doctors for hanging out with us today, sharing the love, and we will see you on November 5th and November 6th for the training of your life, the 10-time 10X National 2022 Spinal Decompression Certification Program. We will see you there.